Alright, hey guys, my name is Shadow and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. So today, we're going to do a video that I've gotten a couple requests to do, and this is basically going to be a couple of tips on how to take your Cobra Mark III into a hazardous resource extraction site and survive with it. So first of all, let's take a look at the build that we're using. We'll take a look at the core internal components first, and then we'll go on to everything else. So, one of the most important things in this build is the military grade composite hull. Now, the shields on this build are relatively weak, even though we have the best shield generator that we can possibly get with a 4A shield generator. It's still a 4A shield generator. It's small, and if we're tackling something like an Anaconda, which is what we're going to do today, then these shields are going to go down fairly quickly. So that's really where the military grade hull comes into play. We need a hull that can take a couple of hits when those shields actually go down. Now the next thing we have here is the 4A power plant, and you really want the 4A because when our hard points are retracted, we're actually drawing 16.52 megawatts, so we're a bit over that power budget right there. Not a huge amount, it's manageable. It only actually comes out to about 5% over, and we only actually have to shut off one of our shield cell banks, so it's fine. We'll get to that in a minute. But the next thing we have here are the 4A thrusters. Now these are probably the most important component of this build because being a very small ship, maneuverability is really the main strength, is really the main selling point, in fact, of the Cobra Mark III. That's really where this thing shines. It is incredibly maneuverable, and you can make great use of the lateral thrusters in this thing, as we're about to find out when we go test this out. Now the next thing we have here is the 4A frameshift drive. Now this is negotiable. Do you want to be able to jump a long ways in this thing? I mean, if so, then put the 4A frameshift drive in there. If not, you can probably go with something like a D, and you'll get better handling, you'll get better top speed, all that kind of stuff. But with the 4A, we can actually jump 19.86 light years in our current configuration. So that's a big bonus if you want to go to other systems and do whatever in other systems. Now, we also have the 3D life support system, just because D is the lightest weight, and this is not one of the main important components on this build. Now we have the 3A power distributor, and this is very important because we need everything to recharge as quickly as possible. That's pretty vital. We have the 3D sensors, again, because this is the lightest weight component that we can put in this slot, and sensors are really not crucial. I mean, obviously we do need sensors, but we don't need the best possible sensors. We need the lightest weight package that we can get. Now we've just left the default fuel tank in here with 16 tons. You can change that if you want to be more lightweight, or you can just leave this one in here and it's fine. We're still getting 303 meters per second, and that's pretty good, I think. So we'll just take a look at our optional internal components next. So we've already talked about the 4A shield generator. Now we have some shield cell banks on this build, and I'm actually using the 4D shield cell banks because these are actually powerful enough to recharge slightly more than one ring of shields on this thing, so they'll keep you going. But the main selling point of the 4D is that they're very lightweight. You can go with all kinds of other classes of shield cell banks or other ratings of shield cell banks, but you're going to find they increase the mass of your ship dramatically. So if we were to go with an A, for example, we've just lost 2 meters per second just with one single bank. And look at the increased power draw. It's jumped up from 16.52 megawatts deployed to 17.26 megawatts deployed, and that's just for one bank. So that's why I've chosen the D for these particular slots right here. Now we've got cargo racks in here, and cargo racks are becoming more of a necessary thing because of engineers. It's becoming more important to have some cargo space on your ship because you're going to need to carry around cargo at some point if you plan on upgrading any component on your ship at an engineer. Some tiers of upgrades don't require commodities, but some do, and it depends on how much you like the ship. And personally, I plan on engineer upgrading all of my ships at some point in the future. I'm working on the Python at the moment, so this is probably not going to be a priority for me, but it will come at some point. And so I've got two 4 capacity cargo racks on here for a total of 8 tons of cargo. Now I've also got my advanced discovery scanner on here, and I usually put this on every build, and it's now more useful than ever actually, because if you're someone who does a lot of assassination missions like I am lately, then this is really useful for you, because rather than having to go into a nav beacon and actually scan the nav beacon, you can just jump into a system, pop off your discovery scanner, and it will actually give you the location data for your target. So it's really useful for things other than exploration now. So let's take a look at some of the other stuff on this build. Let's take a look at the utility mounts next. We have our kill warrant scanner, and this one is good for 2 kilometers. The other thing we have here is a chaff launcher. Now, if you want to go ahead and replace this with a shield booster or something like that, you could probably do that, but I haven't done that here because the shield booster just uses way more power than I want to use, and I'm really fine with the chaff launcher. You can pop this thing off and it'll stop you from taking so many hits. I mean, you'll still get hit some, but it'll stop you from taking so many hits for several seconds anyway, and that's usually enough time that you can either deploy a shield cell or get away from the person who's firing on you, or in some situations, maybe even destroy that target or something like that. So we've gone with the chaff launcher. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about are the hard points, obviously, and this is probably one of the parts that we should be most concerned with. So let's start with the bottom first. We have 2 1G turreted multi-cannons. Now I've used turreted multi-cannons here because the way that I have my joystick set up is that my thumb has to be pressing the fire button on the top of the stick, but if I want to do that, it's very hard for me to control my lateral thrusters at the same time that my thumb is pushing that same button, because my thumb also has to use the little hat switch thing in order to control the lateral thrusters. So with turrets, it's really just an on button. If I push it once, I can then stop pushing it and they'll continue firing while I'm using the hat switch to control the lateral thrusters, which you really need to do in this ship. It's not optional. Using lateral thrusters is not optional in this ship, and we're going to see that in just a minute. Now the very main weapon of weapons of this build are the 2B railguns. Now I know what you guys are saying, railguns don't have enough ammo to make bounty hunting viable. And that's true in most cases. However, I feel that if you're bounty hunting with a Cobra Mark III, it's for one of a couple of reasons. One of those reasons could be that this is the only ship that you could afford at the moment, and you want something that's going to give you the best bang for your buck, and that's what we're going to get with the railguns. Now, that's not necessarily the only reason that people would be flying the Cobra Mark III. I mean, you may just like flying small ships. I mean, yeah, it's fun. They're maneuverable, they're fast, they're cool, and the Cobra Mark III has the cool body kits and stuff. I mean, you guys can see that I have a cool body kit on my ship. I mean, yeah, why not? It's fun to fly these ships. But this tutorial here is really for somebody who is just flying this ship out of necessity. Now, you could also use this build if you want to fly it for fun. It's hard hitting, it's cool. Yeah, so either way, really. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the loadout on this ship. So what we're going to do now is the same thing that we usually do when we're done talking about the loadout. We're going to launch this ship, and we're going to take it into the hazardous resource extraction site, and we're going to learn how to take down an Anaconda with this ship. Here we go. Alright, so we're here in the hazardous resource extraction site, and now what we're going to do is just pretty much cruise around until we find an Anaconda to take out, because as we mentioned earlier, these railguns actually do have a limited ammo capacity, although there is a mod that you can do to these with engineers. It's called the Plasma Slug Railgun. The thing about that is that plasma slugs are an experimental effect, and if you absolutely want to get that effect by using an engineer mod, it will cost you 2 grades that you've earned with that engineer. And as you guys may have seen if you've been following my engineer series at all, it's taking a while to earn those grades. Now what I did earlier was I flew out to Todd the Blaster McQuinn's base, and I handed in about 3 million credits worth of Alliance bounty vouchers, which are supposed to increase your reputation with Todd the Blaster. They moved the progress bar 0%. I am still at grade 3 access with Todd the Blaster. Now I've also read on forums that there are actually special Todd the Blaster bounty vouchers that you have to hand in to him, but I don't really know about that. I haven't tried it, so if you guys want to let me know about that stuff down in the comments, then I guess we'll know about that. But back to the mission at hand, we're going to go find a nice Anaconda. Okay, so after about 20 minutes of flying around, we finally found an Anaconda. However, it's already engaged in combat. I mean, this can be good depending on how you look at it. I really wanted to show you the power of this build just on its own, but I don't get to control what the computer throws at us, so this is what we get. So, let's target this thing's power plant, and we'll see how this is done. Now, what we need to do with this thing is stay right in this guy's blind spot. There is a spot right above the Anaconda, pretty much right over its cockpit, where none of its weapons can actually hit you. So let's see if we can kind of stay in that spot, and we will just fire railguns on him. And, you know, cannons too. And we'll use our lateral thrusters to our advantage and kind of stay out of his fire radius. So let's actually get a couple shots in before these other NPCs kill him. Here we go. Now he could probably hit us from here if he wanted to, but it looks like he has bigger threats to deal with at the moment. Now pretty much as long as we stay out right from in front of him, like we're exactly not doing right now, we should kind of be okay. But we do have chaff and shield cells just in the event that that actually happens. Now I've left the turrets on fire at will mode, so they actually start firing on him just as soon as I hit him with the first volley of railgun fire there. So they're still firing on him right now. And now that the shield cell's cooled off, what we need to do is start firing those railguns at him again. Now you need to wait a couple of seconds in between each volley of your railguns because they really heat up your ship. And if you fire them too close together, you will start taking damage from it. And we'll use a shield cell right there. Okay, he got our shields. Okay, so we need to put some power into the shields. They should come back up fairly quickly. And again, this guy's already engaged in combat, so it shouldn't be too much longer before we actually take him down. Plus we have his power plant targeted, so if we can actually hit that most of the time, we'll be doing okay. But we need to get our shields back up as soon as possible, basically. Now this is really where that military hull comes in. So as you can see, we're taking some damage, but it's not terrible because of the military grade hull. If we didn't have that, we'd already be toast. Now you probably heard the canopy cracking there a little bit, so if it actually did shatter, it would be really good. Ooh, that's bad, that's bad. It'll be really good to have an upgraded life support system. So we need to put some power into our weapon systems and get our railguns to fire here. His shields are about to come back online, and he's, okay, this is probably not gonna end well for me. His shields are back up, but so are mine. Let's use a shield cell immediately. And we'll put some power back in the engines. And I don't want to fire railguns while we're using a shield cell. That would probably be catastrophic. So, let's just wait until that heat dissipates a little bit, and then we can get his shields down again with these railguns, like so. And we'll risk the heat damage and go for another shot. He's down to 4%. We're getting a little messed up here, but that's okay, because he is down to 1% hull integrity. I'm gonna pop a shield cell right now, but I didn't need to because he's gone and we just made 204,000 credits. So, there we go. That, well, minus the help that we had from these NPCs, which really wasn't that much considering it's, what, a Viper and another Viper. That is pretty much how to take down an Anaconda with a small ship like this. Now, yeah, you're gonna run out of ammo fairly quickly, and that's kind of a downside to this. So you've really just got to prioritize high-value targets, like that Anaconda right there. We made 204,000 credits from a single kill. So if you rack up a couple of those, you go cash in, you repair your ship, and you've made a decent amount of cash. You know, if you're a starting out pilot or something like that, you'll have yourself a nice vulture in no time. So it's pretty much as easy as that. Just remember to use those lateral thrusters and leave a couple of seconds in between your railguns, Also, the military grade hull, very important, as we just saw. Right now we're down to 63% hull integrity. If we didn't have that, we would have been toast. Like, no question. Let's just see what integrity our canopy is actually at right here. So our canopy was actually down to 48%. Now, that's not terrible. I mean, it's better than 0%. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So we made it, and that's pretty much going to be the end of this video, guys. So let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button vigorously. If you think my piloting skills suck, you can hit the button that's right next to that one, which is the thumbs down button. But other than that, guys, that is it for me. So thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.